Hello and welcome to another Gunpla review. Today we're taking a look at the MS-06S Zaku 2 Red Comet version, otherwise known as Char Zaku 2. The Zaku 2, one of the most recognizable mobile suits in the entire franchise. Also one of the strongest designs in the entire franchise in my opinion. Char's red and salmon Zaku is no slouch, and the Origin version especially is an incredibly strong contender for best Xeon mobile suit. And before you write anything in the comments, yes, the upper arms were backwards. In my defense, the molding allows it to be put on either way. Anyway, getting into the review, let's, as usual, start with the articulation. Alright, showing off the usable range of movement. The head can go back pretty decently for a Zaku anyway, considering how much stuff gets in the way back there. Can go incredibly far forward. Also the eye, if I grab the... hang on, let me just make sure I can actually reach up under there. Can actually move from side to side. Let's line that up in the middle. Good enough. Which allows for a lot of dynamic poses that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. The chest can move forward slightly to bring the arm forward slightly more as well. The front-facing polycap allows for the shoulder to move out completely across the chest, which is nice. A very nice swivel at the upper arm. An incredible double bend at the elbow. And of course, the hand, as usual, is on a ball joint. The waist articulation can get a full 360 spin, as well as a very decent ab crunch and flex backwards. Even some side-to-side bend. The hips, nothing to the back because the center area of the skirt is solid. However, the side skirts, if I can pull one out, are on polycap ball joints, which can slide back further. Well, these are on hinges, and the hips are on a forward rocking joint, which used together, excuse me, can get a very, just slide this back into that slot. It's not super secure in there, but it's not going to fall off. Anyway, you can get a very, very high kick, almost too high. You don't really need that much movement, but I'm glad it's there. Of course, you can not get a full splits out of it, but pretty close, although that did just fall off, so maybe not quite that much. Let's push that back in and see how far I can go out before it pops off. Yeah, almost full splits. Of course, there's a rotation at the upper thigh, a decent knee bend, enough to kneel, slightly over 90 degrees, and this does lock up once it's fully bent, but it's fairly secure in there and doesn't get damaged from the bend, which is nice. I did have it pop out on me earlier while the camera was off, but not a big deal. Moving on to the ankles. Decent pivot given the bulk of the lower leg armor. Decent rotation given the same thing. As well, the foot is actually a very complex design. If I can get the light to actually show it off. It can hinge up, and then just a moment. So as I was saying, the foot is actually a very complex design, as this part hinges up and brings the back up with it. which doesn't give much of a difference, but it allows the leg to swing forward a lot more. It does get stuck a little bit once you put it together starting out, but it loosens up a lot if you do it a couple times. This version of Char's Zaku, and I do have to specify this version, comes with a frankly ridiculous amount of weapons. But before we get to that, let's get it out of the way. It does come with a sticker sheet. I only used this version of the Mono Eye. It does also come with this second version, which has a different effect, and the 2 weapon scopes. Personally, I prefer the cleaner look. That looks closer to the original series over the origin version with all the emblems and whatnot. Starting out with the reason to buy this version, the standard Zaku machine gun, which has a movable scope, camera, same difference, a movable handle, as well as I'm afraid of breaking it because the plastic's kind of thin, but got it. You get 2 magazines. This tab allows it to store on the back. Not that one, sorry. The bottom port. Either down this way or more reasonably up this way. Now this is not a very tight connection. In fact, it kind of falls off very easily, so be warned about that. Anyway, let's just put that back on and show off the trigger finger hand, which all of these weapons attach on the same way, so I'm just going to show it with this one. They all have the 2 tabs on the handle. Touch on the rest of the fingers and the thumb. And one thing I do want to say about this hand is they really wanted you to be able to pull off that one shot, because the angle on this ball joint kind of breaks the hand. And even if you get this up over, it only comes to about there. Trying to get it held in both hands, it kind of looks awkward. It's good for getting it up underneath the arm to hold like this though. So if you want to pose your Zaku like that, works pretty well. The Zaku 2 also comes with a splayed hand, which is good for any sort of action pose. It also comes with both expanded and collapsed heat hocks. This one having a port to plug on the side skirt. The belt-fed Zaku machine gun. Don't ask me how that works, considering how thin this is. But it also has the same articulation as the magazine-fed variant, with a handle and a scope. And this plugs into the backpack here with 2 pegs. Oop. I bumped the camera, sorry about that. Just plugs in. This is supposed to be green, I believe, or gray, but it comes in red plastic, so you would have to paint that to be color accurate. Kind of odd considering they have gray plastic on the kit, but also the nubs that hold these onto the runners are an absolute pain to clean off, so forgive me. Moving on to the anti-ship rifle. It's pretty big. In fact, I can't even get it all on screen unless I turn it sideways. No moving parts. no removable magazine or anything. It's 2 pieces of plastic, 3 technically, since this is one side, and then you put on the other half of this. The scope with the purple sticker. Despite this peg looking like it should be able to store, it's slightly too large and will not allow you to store it, which is unfortunate considering the bazooka pink sticker, which, by the way, movable front handle, movable back handle, as well as removable ammo magazine. Comes with 3, and the other 2 can line that up, peg onto the shield, and both of them can be stored on the shield. I prefer it clean personally, but the option's there. Also this clip, which plugs into either side onto the backpack, and will hold the bazooka stored on the back. There is, let's get that off, a hole on both sides, though on this side the shield kind of bumps up against it and gets in the way of it. Also, let's talk option parts. Considering the Origin Zaku to have a few, you get an additional head cap, which doesn't have the hole for the commander antenna. You get some additional chest pieces, which do not have the shoulder Vulcans. And finally you get an action base connector, since up underneath the skirt there is no hole. However, these are 3mm ports. Both of these are 3mm ports, in fact. So if you happen to have a Tamashii Nation Act 5, which I do, you can just use those without having to worry about it. A quick size comparison, and the Origin Zaku 2 is pretty average height for a mobile suit, around the same height as the RX-78 Revive version, anyway. Final thoughts on the Origin Char Zaku. This is, in my opinion, one of the best Zaku kits you can possibly get. It is on par with any master grade Zaku you can get. The articulation is excellent. The accessories are plentiful. The pigments they went with for the red and the pink of the Zaku are some of the best looking ones they've ever chosen. And assuming you make sure to get the one with the standard magazine fed rifle, it is hands down the best Char Zaku that has been made as a high grade. But anyway, that's it for this review. Make sure to let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video with anybody you think would enjoy it. But until next time, as always, happy building.